I'd like to add transparency and openness of government up in that box then.
Transparency and openness of
What was
government?
that?
Thank you.
Sure.
And the budgeting and financial, what was it? I was just reading it, now I lost my spot. Budgeting and finance management.
Okay.
You need to have, I mean, we have it in here, it's the last item, but we do have a high property tax rate here, and we are struggling. So I think we need somebody that can come in here with a good finance background.
Certainly don't disagree with that, because we do have a high rate and we are struggling that way. Any other thoughts from anybody on that? I'll certainly add.
You
that
don't
to
think that the
profile.
middle piece here, have significant experience in budgeting and financial management, you wanted something stronger?
It's already in the box.
Oh, yeah, it
In the
already is in
box.
there. Yeah, no, I'm fine with that, sorry.
Okay. Other thoughts or questions on the profile itself?
Are you talking about just what's in the block?
Yeah, well, at least I am.
Okay, but there's nothing in here about applying for government grants. And I think expertise in grant filing would be very important, because there's a lot of money out there available for the right community if somebody applies for it. And if you don't get it. And we certainly need all the help we can get. That, to me, a grant administrator capability would be very essential in a candidate. That's what I would be looking at, besides all the other stuff.
Okay. Other thoughts? There was a comment that was made in one of the online questionnaire responses, specifically in regard to that they didn't disagree with the person having to have experience in looking for grants. They thought it was more appropriate that the successful candidate have the ability to evaluate personnel reporting to them and hire the right people who knew where to be going to search out grants, as opposed to doing it themselves. So they thought it was best left to those people to be doing the grants and so forth in their own area of expertise. Certainly a city manager can do his or her own as well, but I don't know necessarily that a good city manager would be spearheading anything for the police department. He or she might have an idea, but I don't know that they would be the instigator or the person necessarily that would find a police grant. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that.
I agree with that totally. I think they should know the basics of it, but they should be directing their people.
Yeah, they need to know enough, so if their grant writer isn't doing something right, they can at least recognize it. I agree with that.
We have people in the city here uh, Yes. Within the right, that look at grants.
I know
Not
that
just the
Nancy
school
Merrill
grants,
does
I'm
that.
talking about the other grants. So we do have that expertise here, and the city manager would basically oversee it to make sure that it's being done in a timely manner.
Yes.
Okay.
I would not want, and this is personal opinion, I would not want a successful city manager to, he or she, to be sucked into dealing a lot with grants at the, leaving something else critically important undone.
Right.
Delegated duty.
It's a delegated duty that they have to be responsible for. They've got to know enough, just as Mark pointed out, to know, is it or isn't it being done? But certainly they aren't going to be doing the writing themselves. At least I wouldn't think so, unless it's a huge grant of some kind or another, in which case we'd probably look to farm that out or delegate it elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, we have somebody separate that writes our grants in Lebanon.
Yeah, well, and we don't necessarily have that here, but certainly in terms of Nancy Merrill and her department, Mark, fire department, library, those folks are pretty well on top of, certainly the rec
Yep.
center is on top of just about anything that they need, so those folks have an ear to the ground.
Another thing that would resonate with me if they put it in their resume, so if we put it in this, it would help, is if they had experience in EPA and DES contaminated sites. We don't have anybody here that really, grant writers we have. Something like that we don't have. And to get the right answers from the right people, if they have that experience, it would resonate with me. We have more brownfields in this town than people think.
So that would be a plus.
That'd be a plus.
As opposed to a definite requirement.
It would be a plus. But it also should be written in there so that if they have that experience, they can elaborate on it.
Sure.
Who currently does in the city now oversee that? Is it the fire department?
There's really not a whole lot of experience in the city over that. That's why we got in trouble with the Topsom building. I mean, there's just not enough people that know that. And if a guy comes in here and has that experience, that would resonate with me. Because, again, there's more brownfields in this town than people know about.
Yeah, I'm not aware that there's anyone singly that's targeted that would have that responsibility
I'm just wondering,
now.
so it's not under the health department, the fire
I would think
department,
planning.
the building
Fire, planning,
department?
There'd be a number of people that would have input to that. I would think that someone who, at the top of the food chain, had that experience would be better able to direct the effort.
That's right.
And that might be, and that's why I say it's a plus as opposed to a
It's
definite
a
requirement.
big plus. Right.
But that would be a big plus.
And it might even
Is that
entice somebody
presently
to
a
do some homework
service?
someday.
Is that presently a service that we get from Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Planning Commission? I mean, is that where that kind of expertise comes in? I don't know.
Well, we've been looking at a number of areas, professional engineering firms, planning, as well as probably a referral from our legal firm to, and depending on the seriousness of it, if there was something huge, they'd want to be referring us to a legal firm that had extensive experience in DES and/or EPA matters. We'd pay for it, but certainly it's worth it to get that experience and to get that level of background. Other items that people think either are important or need to be added. This will form the basis of what we look for when it comes down to writing our advertisement. Okay. I had also sent around.
Well, just, I think the key statement here is, on the page 2, was working for a governing body comprised of a mayor, assistant mayor, and seven city councilors. I think, I don't know how to frame that, or phrase that, but I think you would want to have, and maybe it's already, maybe it's a given, but wouldn't you want them to demonstrate an ability or a track record of working in a governmental system where the city manager is responsible to the city council? I mean, and should that be stated? I'm just, maybe I'm opening a can of worms, but I think somewheres you want to have some knowledge or feel comfortable that this person isn't coming in as somebody who was working in Detroit where they call the shots, and I'm trying to make something up
I
here.
think you're making a good point.
Yeah.
I think you're.
To elaborate on that, could we, if it wasn't something we listed in the ideal candidate profile, would that be something that you would want to cover during interview questions? Ask them
Perhaps,
what your experience is doing this?
Yeah, perhaps. I think you're right. Yeah, that
So we
would
could
probably
gauge
be
it
the
there.
right place. Yeah, that would sound better.
It has to be somewhere where we can look at somebody and say, you should have expected that this is what we wanted. It has to be very clear that you should have expected this is what we wanted.
I think anyone applying for a manager position probably knows the different government styles.
I would think.
one would hope.
Well,
Or you clarify.
and you clarify, you're going to be doing an awful lot of clarifying during the interview. It's been my experience that anybody coming in for the interview, you're going to be able to tell pretty quick who's done their research
Yes.
on who you are versus, oh yeah, I just sent this to you. You know, I'm a nice guy. But there is a statement within the advertisement itself
Yes.
that states,
Because I don't.
In the recruitment, Adam?
yeah,
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
city council, city manager form of government. And I think we leave that type of statement
Yeah,
in the
that's good.
advertisement.
Yeah.
And that should be enough to prompt,
Yeah.
I hope. All right. I had sent around the original advertisement. I don't know if everybody's still got the copies that I'd sent around, as well as Lloyd took it upon himself to do a rewrite of the advertisement and sent it to me last night. And I forwarded that this morning. Did everyone have a chance to look at that?
Is that what this is? This is the rewrite, and this was the original.
Yeah, the original was pretty short. The rewrite was more extensive, but my comments back to Lloyd were that it was very good. Certainly this is what we need to do. There was an emphasis on Vermont being across the river with Mount Ascutney Hospital, so on and so forth. And that certainly, starting with the word Vermont and ending with the word, or the words, Windsor Locks, Connecticut, I thought should be stricken and rewritten to emphasize more of what Claremont had to offer as opposed to what would be across the river in Vermont or south into Connecticut or so on. But I don't know what people felt, or how people felt about either the original advertisement or the rewritten version that Lloyd spent some time doing. He's correct in eliminating some pieces that made it appear a little bit Pollyannish, maybe on our part. So, thoughts regarding that? I don't know if you've had time to digest it. Yeah, Deb?
I liked it. I liked this version, and I think we have to realize who may be reading this and where they're from. If we want to attract somebody nationally that doesn't know anything about this area, I think expanding that what we're near and how close we are to some of these bigger places will help us maybe bring somebody here from a larger metropolitan area that might not necessarily want to read something about just Claremont because they don't know us. We all know Claremont and we know what's good about it, but you know, somebody from the outside, we have to realize that some of these people that we're reading and applying know nothing about this area of the country. So I think the more we can make it look like we're not just a little teeny town in the middle of nowhere, might help us attract more people. And I like the whole tone of it, and I thought it was well written and hit a lot of the nails on the head that needed to be hit.
Okay. Lloyd?
Allow me to share some of my thoughts when I was trying to develop this. And you and I exchanged a couple emails, and Alan's concerns, I had those concerns too. But I will point out that what you mentioned is not even in the original. And I, coming from a more worldly background of military service and so on and so forth, I see way beyond Claremont. And we do a lot of stuff in Vermont. We do a lot of stuff here. We tend to want to do business here in Claremont where at all possible. We don't go outside of Claremont to get a good deal because we want to support Claremont.
Sure.
But they do have a hospital. They do have excellent restaurants. They do have a lot of stuff over there. It doesn't take away from what Claremont offers. And absolutely, I should have included, but I didn't for whatever reason. we should mention all the things that Claremont has. We have a community center, we have a senior center, we got 2 veterans organizations that help veterans. We've got a hospital, we've got major businesses here. So
college.
adding those, and I would suggest that if those were labeled first, it wouldn't necessarily require that we exclude Vermont's offers, because what Claremont offers far exceeds what Vermont can offer. But I don't think we should exclude it, because when somebody comes here, he's going to say, well, geez, what's beyond Claremont? And they're going to know quickly that, you know, these sort of things. And to exclude it, we could, but I think it would be an added flavor for somebody coming here, you know, who wants to look at the area in a little bit bigger fashion. It certainly wouldn't take away from it if we include the things that you mentioned and a few other things that I mentioned tonight. So I would go in that direction, just add on to that.
All right.
And make it first, Claremont first.
Yep, and then go into Vermont and say what
Yeah.
was in the wider area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I mentioned the airports, because those are important for travel and those sort of things.
Sure.
And so I think it gives a much more wider view of why you want to come here, you know.
Yep, okay. Joe, you had your hand.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I go with the Logan and Windsor Locks, Connecticut airport. I'm all set with the Manchester International. Anybody who lives in the United States doesn't know that Boston has a big airport is sleeping.
And I never use it.
Yeah. It is nice to know that there is an international airport in the state, and it's a very viable one, and that's why I would leave that there. But I'm not so sure about Logan and
It depends on where you're going.
Because, I mean, if you're going to go to the accident, you got one in Burlington, too.
I use both.
Yeah.
In fact, I use all 3. I use Manchester, Boston, and Bradley, depending on where I'm going. But all 3 are available. They're all within a 2-hour drive or less. Depends on if you're speeding or not. But they're all good airports.
And we also left out that we have our own airport. Granted, you don't fly big airplanes in here, but a lot of business people
Yeah.
can land at
Yeah.
Claremont
Lebanon
Airport.
has an airport for access, too.
Yeah.
Yep. Many years ago, when my wife and I were dating, I sent her to the Lebanon airport. And she got on the plane and was a bit taken aback that somebody got up and started washing the front windshield, which she thought was rather unusual. But
Bugs fly high.
What if we just reframed that middle section and something to the effect of, you know, Claremont is strategically or located in western New Hampshire, abutting state of Vermont, and quality, you know, first-class healthcare facilities in the region. Transportation includes access to, you know, interstates plus neighboring, you know, international airports. I mean, I guess I think the lead word of Vermont sort of kind of sticks in my craw a little bit because I'm in New Hampshire. So that. I'm just thinking what your point is correct. You're right, well taken. Just maybe reframe it so that it's...
If the New Hampshire Claremont stuff is mentioned first,
Yeah.
and it far exceeds in numbers of things that we mentioned, then the Vermont thing would be very minor.
Yeah.
But it's got to go first. And I think we can do that very easily. If everyone agrees with that, that's the way to go.
Well, I agree with that, but other comments? Kristen?
I think on the page 2, when we were talking about the recruitment, there's a lot of really good information that's written in here about Claremont, especially that the city of Claremont has some enviable community, cultural, and natural assets. I'd really like to see more of that wording listed in here, and it goes on to talk about, you know, the TIF district, industrial park, community center, which we've already talked about the community center, but I think that we do have a lot of really good wording that we can take and pare down and put in here to
the
build
ad.
that up and really showcase us as we have a lot of potential for growth, and come and make us grow.
Yeah, come and help us move us along.
Yeah.
Other thoughts on that?
This ad gets big, but we also have an industrial park that isn't filled up yet.
Yes, and I think we should mention that.
Yeah.
The potential, come fill it up.
Yeah, so.
You know, only caveat we're going to have probably on the ad, and I think you touched on it, is either you or Joe, that we don't want to have a 2-page ad.
Right. We'll have to get some of this other stuff
So
out
what
of
will
there.
the ad itself look like? Is it going to be this, or is it going to be these bullets in the box?
It's not going to be the bullets in the box.
Okay.
The bullets in the,
Candidate profile.
yeah,
Okay.
the bullets in the box are so that we can evaluate candidates as they're coming forward based upon their applications on those things specifically that we've bulleted that would be qualities that they should possess as they're coming to us seeking to be our city manager.
So this will be the ad, or whatever this turns out to be after all of this discussion.
Yeah, it should be said.
I'd like it to be personally
Yeah.
something that's around this kind of length, if we can have it. I don't think that's too big, nor is it too small, but, Joe?
Would it be appropriate to have the ad steer a candidate to a page on the city website that really gets into the nitty-gritty? That way there, you know, the guy reads the ad and he's, you know, hadn't fallen asleep by the time he's done reading the ad. Now he's excited. He goes to the website, and now we start talking about the industrial park, all of the nice stuff in Claremont, and if he's interested, he's gonna go to there quickly.
Going to go to the city's website.
Yeah.
That's an excellent idea.
I mean, she's correct. That second paragraph here
It's pretty good.
says some really very good stuff. I mean, you know, I don't know if you can do it by bullets. I don't know if you can do it by, but there's some very, I mean, and it's Claremont specific.
Okay. Other thoughts? I can
So we're
see.
basically melding these two documents.
Yeah.
Someone is melding them.
Yeah, somebody is.
I think
May-
Kristen's
Maybe,
great at that.
maybe the original author might agree
Or
to do.
Lloyd.
May I offer a suggestion? And all your suggestions are very valid, and I'm more than happy to help with this boilerplate expansion and clarity thing. But what I'd like each of you to do, if you have some suggestions, is to email them to me, and certainly copy Alan or everybody else if you want to, so we know what's going on. And then I'll attempt to put it together. And then some of the suggestions that you made and others is that on the website, there may be some of these things we might want to put on the website and keep this as narrowly focused as possible. But I'm going to need input, written input, so that I know basically where we're going, and I can try to synthesize it into something that's meaningful.
Debbie?
I think that's going to violate 91A.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't discuss, any discussions we have is here at the table, and then we can trust somebody to take our discussions and finalize it, or come back to us, but we
You're
can't.
saying what I'm suggesting we can't do.
We can't do it over email, because then we're talking and debating and suggesting, and the public can't hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, remember what we started out with under the ground rules. Doing business through email, other than information that you need to know, an FYI that's come to my attention or whatever, that's fine. But having something that starts getting at a discussion, a two-way discussion in particular, is to be avoided. Emails from individual members of this group, which may or may not be addressing the same topic or sentence or attribute or whatever, really should be avoided. Somebody's going to hit reply all, and that gets us into all sorts of areas that we don't want to be. And the debate should be in public session.
So getting
So-
input from everybody is not a debate, but it's only input, and that's not allowed?
No.
It's not?
It's not, no.
Okay,
It
let me-
circumvents the,
Let me review the RSA. It said communications outside a meeting, including but not limited to sequential communications among members of a public body, shall not be used to circumvent the spirit and the purpose of this chapter, as expressed in RSA.
Yep.
So there is no attempt to circumvent anything here other than trying to get things moving and to try to put information together.
You're circumventing, when I give you a suggestion, or when Kristen gives you, or anybody else gives you a suggestion, the public can't hear that on email. And even though they have a right to hear what our thoughts are, and that's the spirit of 91A. It's open government. So if we
Okay, I
do it over
understand.
email, we're
So if I printed
violating
off
the
a
spirit.
copy of everybody's communication for public scrutiny, that wouldn't fit the spirit? Which I have a folder for this particular committee, and all communications are available for anyone to look at. I can print them off, whatever. You know,
No.
I understand this, I understand what we're doing, but I'm trying to find a way to simplify things, to move things along.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a computer here, I don't have a printer here, and
Yeah.
it makes it more difficult.
I think, Lloyd, I think what we can do, a number of suggestions about how to punch up the rewritten draft that you had kindly done, and it's a good job. If you look at the second page of the municipal resources challenge statement and ideal candidate profile,
Yeah,
right in here.
yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah. Top paragraph. The city of Claremont has some enviable community, cultural, and natural assets. These assets include a downtown TIF, not fully occupied, critical access hospital, one college, not two, a municipal airport, Amtrak stop, boat launch, industrial park, so on and so forth, all the way through. If you were to take that section and put in I would say down to where it ends with help market Claremont as a destination for businesses and residents to flourish would be a natural add to what you've written right before discussing the state of Vermont.
Okay, do we have an extra copy of that? I guess I don't have one.
You now have an
I
extra
can't find
copy
it.
of that.
Could I just jump in here?
Sure.
Joe asked a question a few minutes ago about the website, and I didn't hear an answer. But couldn't we have the city create a subset of the city's website that deals with documents related to the city manager selection? That's kind of what you were asking.
Yeah.
And if we did that, then we could just post this right there. I mean, and then in whatever the ad is, for further information, or we strongly urge you to check out our website, and look at all the various documents and peruse. That might be an answer.
I think we all
because-
said yes to that.
Yeah,
Did we all say yes to
Yeah.
that?
We shook our
So
heads.
can we do that?
It's problematic. I'm going to have to sit down with the city manager, the
Yeah.
acting city manager,
Okay.
who will make me painfully aware of the number of 91A requests that they still need to be answering. The city staff, which has one human resource person doing all of the various other things that need to be done. The city doesn't have spare staff running around. This is done by DeForest, I believe, over in planning and development, and I'm not sure what their workload is. So you're going to...
And Doré did a lot of it, and
And
she's out.
Doré did a lot of it, and she's out with her broken ankle. So,
Oh.
Joe?
So you're saying we can't physically facilitate just putting something on the website at this point in time?
Yeah.
I'm not going to commit to either saying yes or no. I need to get with the acting city manager and have him say, Alan, you got to be kidding me, or no problem, Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mark.
Being somebody who relocated here about 5 years ago, this ad is to get somebody excited for Claremont.
Right.
And they're going to do a lot of their own research on what interests them. So they're going to Google Claremont and look at, Amtrak schedules, hospitals, community centers, and those types of things for whatever meets the needs of them and their families.
Right.
So I think get as much information as you can to get them excited and draw them in. And I think the website has information for them to look it up and do their own research.
Mm-hmm. You mean the city's website?
Correct.
Yeah.
Or whatever, the hospital websites or wherever
Mhm.
they need to go.
Okay. Debbie?
I don't know if this is possible, or the city manager would agree to this, but I'm sure there's people on this committee who are capable of posting things on websites. So that might be something to consider if their staff just can't handle it, and they're willing to let somebody have access to do that with the approval of this group. That might be an option.
Joe?
We've pretty much covered everything that the public would need to know that we want to put in a document. Lloyd's agreed to try to stack that up in a neat way. My suggestion would be, if he's going to do it, I don't think he's going to do it on an old typewriter, so it's going to be available electronically. So let him do it. I would suggest that he sends it to you, and then you, I think that all correspondence here should come from you.
Yes.
So he sends it to you, you send it to us and say, at the next meeting, we're gonna go over this. And if it looks good, or we make changes, he now goes and makes his changes, and then we send that to the city, and in order to put it on the website, at that point, it's like click,
Yeah.
click,
Yeah.
click, copy and paste, and it's there.
Yeah, putting the advertisement on the established city's website, that should not be a problem. Coming up with something different to have bulleted points or information from the screening or from the search committee,
Yeah.
I just want to run that by somebody who has to do the work as opposed to me. I mean, I might think that's a really cool idea, and somebody else is going to faint.
I'm not sure it'd be any different than putting the agenda for the council, or the packet for the council, on that. So if they have it all typed out, we should type it out, I agree with that. And then we send it to them electronically. It's just gonna have another footnote.
Sure.
City manager, application, explanation, or whatever you wanna put, but
Yeah.
I think that would work good.
I think it needs to have all the bullet points of Claremont first, though, and then, like Ray was saying, a consolidated of everything else around here. They can go search on their own
Yeah.
after that, but really emphasize Claremont.
And, yeah, any good candidate for city manager is going to search
Right.
on his or her own.
And they're not going to just be looking at things to do around the area. They're going to look at everything.
They're going to look at everything.
See anything that has come up on Claremont over the
Oh, yeah,
past
they're
several
gonna look
years.
at
So
that.
they're going to do their homework.
Newspaper articles,
Everything.
oh, yeah. 2 years worth of newspaper articles. Yeah, things, people are going to look at that, and should. That they need to know what they're walking into. I will agree, and I think it simply is best practice. If Lloyd will redo or revamp his already good ad to include information from talking about Claremont coming first,
Yep.
send it to me, and I will forward that on to committee members. There will be a note at the bottom to please don't respond to that email at all, and we'll have to simply have that discussion at whenever our next meeting is. I don't know what you think a time frame would be, Lloyd, for doing that.
I'll have that ready in 24 hours.
Okay. I'm wondering if we cannot have our next meeting this Thursday at 5 o'clock and try to see if we can come up with a final advertisement product at that time that will allow some work to be done on Friday, either through the city or from me or wherever, to see if we can at least get some advertising out and in the public.
Yep.
And I agree also, whichever one of our committee members mentioned, I think it might have been Mark Limoges, that we set the response date. If I feel that we've gotten an advertisement out to a couple of different sites Friday, then the response date is 30 days after that. I think that's a very wise suggestion.
So you want a meeting this Thursday at 5?
I would like to have a meeting this Thursday at 5. I don't know
Wednesday or
how others
Thursday.
feel.
What is the posting requirement? I
I think it's 24 hours.
24?
Yeah, you-
Okay.
Well, you can do an emergency meeting on 24 hours. I'm sure if we state that we have a meeting that would be occurring 3 days hence, I think we're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And the only agenda item on that meeting will be to approve the advertisement.
Or give me another shot at it.
I hate to put the entire onus on you.
That's okay. I mean, I
You were
can get
kind
it.
enough to start the process.
I'll get
Debbie,
it
you
done.
look puzzled?
No,
Oh,
just a
okay.
natural look, I guess.
Are we
No.
in agreement that I could probably cut out a couple of those airports just to shorten things a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
Consolidate
Okay,
the bottom.
I'll trim where
Yeah.
I can, and I really emphasize Claremont where I can, because there's a
And-
lot to emphasize here.
Yeah, and the region, certainly
And- yeah.
Manchester Airport is important, Vermont and the area, because we sit right on the Connecticut River, the person ought to know where we are.
Great fishing there, too.
Yep, great fishing, Dartmouth, yep. Debbie?
What if we also, anybody has any new suggestions on places to advertise?
Yes.
I know Kristen was going to check with Lebanon, so maybe putting that as a second agenda item, if anybody has any new, come up with any new ideas that we haven't already
Yeah.
talked about.
Surely, if you've got ideas wherever Lebanon went to be doing their advertising, if you want to bring them, if you can do it on Thursday, that would be super. Yeah, I'll take whatever ideas are out there.
And
as
maybe
far
if
as
you can check
advertising.
with the MRI stuff that they did a few years back.
Yeah, I'll do that as well.
But to clarify, for Thursday, we're going to, with what Lloyd presents, or what you present, and we're ready to talk about it, any changes we make that day, we'll be ready that day electronically to change it so we can approve it Thursday and get it out, right?
Yes.
That's what our mission is.
That's what our mission
Good.
is.
I think that's,
Well, any changes, and I suspect there will be, I'm going to have to go home and make the changes.
well, I think we can be
yes.
prepared at the meeting to electronically change it. It doesn't have to be on your computer, it has to be
Yeah.
on this board.
If it's done in public
So,
and then you send
John
a
has-
copy, we're all set.
Okay.
Right, exactly.
Well,
We'll be ready.
I'll bring one of the city council computers and have it here with a copy that you've sent to me.
Oh, sure.
And we can edit it right here, right
Read it
while
into the
we're-
record and
Yeah.
everything, yeah.
As long as
So
everybody.
you'll have on there what I send you.
Correct.
And then we can go from there.
Yep. I'm a slow typist, so everyone put up with me, but yeah, that's the way we'll try to do it. Joe?
Now, by Thursday, will you have an answer how easy it is to put something on the city website if we want to?
I certainly will try. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, assuming Mr. McLean's here this week, which I assume he is, then yeah, I can arrange a time to talk to him.
Okay.
What else would people, are we all in agreement on Thursday at 5?
I'm good.
Now that we're on Thursday at 5, you had mentioned in your opening statements when you sent to us that we might have to meet a couple days a week. Can we, keep them 2 days planned for that?
We can do certainly next week, we could keep those 2 dates.
Okay.
Good.
Well, just in case we have to. I mean, until we get to this mode where we can now slow down and wait for somebody to come to us, we gotta stick with it.
That would be what, Mondays and Thursdays?
Monday and Thursdays.
I would prefer we not do Mondays, but that's okay.
Yep. Yeah,
I mean,
do our best
Tuesdays
to
and
work around
Thursdays
it.
would work. I don't, you know,
Somebody have a bad day for Tuesday?
oh, Tuesdays.
Okay, I thought, yeah.
One of the marks.
Then I'll, just as long as you know that I'll probably have to leave at like 6:30 or so.
Yeah, and that's,
We'll be done by
Look at where we are now.
yeah,
We've
No, but we
really
started-
covered some ground here.
Yeah, but we'd be starting
an
at
hour and a
4.
quarter.
Oh,
We're starting at 5, not at 4:30.
yeah.
I think it still should be perfectly
Fine,
doable.
that's great.
And it would be my intent to keep meetings short. I really think the productivity really lags the longer the meeting goes.
Yeah.
Anything else that anybody wants to be discussing? I have my to-dos for the rest of the week. Okay. Then I'm good. See everybody Thursday at 5. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.